Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to MindShifters Radio with your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife, Jeanie. Michael and Jeanie share with you the wisdom of the ancient Aramaic internal process of forgiveness. They offer tools and support 5 days a week. They will support you in building a solid foundation within yourself to live in pure love. In Aramaic, Rakhma. Michael is the author of So Why Is This Happening to Me Again? For more information on Michael and Jeanie, please visit www.whyagain.com. And now your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael and Jeanie Ryce.
To the brightness within you, and the truth that is rooted within me.
Hi, and welcome to MindShifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce. Our calling number is 646-200-4169. Press 1 if you want to talk to Michael. We have several people already on the switchboard. Nobody's in the chat room yet. So give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. Michael.
Welcome to the show. We're delighted that you're here and delighted to be supporting you in learning the ancient internal Aramaic process of forgiveness, the opposite of what our culture teaches. It's the thing that frees us from the insanity. Actually, there was a great physicist, psychologist, psychiatrist from 2,000 years ago who said, know the truth and the truth will set you free. Most people don't even know they're in bondage, and so they love their bondage, and they have no interest whatsoever in being free, which means they have no interest whatsoever in looking at the truth. Blockage of truth is one of the greatest diseases of humanity. I'd offer it is the cause of all conflict, of all war, of all separation. And one of the things that we're here to do is to create a world of peace by putting an end to conflict, separation, and war. How do we do that? Well, we teach love of truth. If we can focus on the principle of I love truth more than my own opinion, your opinion when you're in pain or upset, notice, is somebody else is the problem in your life, and if they would just change or you could get rid of them, things would get better. Notice that's a fraud. No matter how many of them you've gotten rid of, no matter how many of them you've gotten to change, it still hasn't changed the root of your hostility or fear. The cause of war, blockage of truth, resulting in internal hostility and fear that gets projected onto somebody else. Now, 2,000 years ago, there was this guy named Yeshua, and he taught us exactly how to get past blockage of truth, know the truth, and let go of hostility or fear. If you're still standing around looking somebody else in the eye, telling them how they're the problem in your life, better make a change if you want to get rid of that disease state that you're in, that state of upset that you blame somebody else for. So our invitation to you is to pick up the worksheet, to pick up the forgiveness process, and just take one thing today that you're willing to be responsible for, that you're willing to forgive. One form of hostility or fear that you're willing to dump out of your energy system. If you will do that, you will become one of those who will assist in the healing of every mind, heart, and being on the planet. So that's our project. If you're not familiar with the forgiveness conversation, if you don't know what it is that we're talking about, then please go to the website, whyagain.com. Whyagain.com, whyagain.com. On the right-hand side, you'll see a link that says Download Worksheets. And you will have a copy of the latest worksheet and the instructions for doing that, and a couple of radio shows where we walk somebody through. So the full instructions are there for walking through the forgiveness process. And so we invite you to download those first 4 links. If you're one of those who says, well, I don't have anything to forgive, why would I do that? Then the 5th link is a list of the possible issues that might be going on in your world. And truly, if you don't have anything on the list to do any forgiveness over or around, then I want to touch the hem of your garment. So we're delighted you're here. Jeanie, is Dr. Tim with us? Is David with us? And or any callers or anything going on in the chat room for us to be aware of?
There's nothing going on the switchboard or in the chat room. David is turned on. Tim is not on with us yet.
Okay, awesome. David, how are you, sir?
I'm doing very well, Michael. I'm doing very well indeed. Nice little process going on here at Heartland, as always. And I was able to make a connection with Marie this morning, and she's doing fabulous there in Florida. With the next layer unfolding is she's one of the ladies that has made the agreement to do 5 worksheets a day actually it's not for the next 40 days. She's been doing it now as the 18th day that we're on of doing the 5 worksheets for 40 days, which we'll complete on New Year's Eve and bring in 2012 to a new vibratory energy.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yay, Marie. We're glad you're on the team doing it. And Jeanie tells me we have a caller, so let's see what our caller has to say.
Area code 541.
Hi there, Jeanie and Michael. It's Carolyn.
Well, hey, young lady, welcome. We're glad to be hearing from you so regularly.
Thank you, my dear. You know, after I wrote you that email last night and then right now listening to your voice, I realized that I should be in total acceptance and allow Julie to do whatever she can do.
There you go. And if it brings something up for you, and for those who haven't been listening in the last few days, we've been working with Carolyn around a daughter that has a lot of internalized pain and wants to project that pain onto mom, and so tends to rage a little bit, or maybe tends to rage a lot, like a lot of people do. And, of course, mom is the object of attention of the rage, and so we've got mom on the phone, and she's been doing some awesome work to dump her response to that rage and to be able to just stand in the space of love. And so, nice insight, Carolyn. You're going to change your relationship with her and your world with that one.
Well, I sure hope so, Michael. What I'm finding it hard to do is to hang on to my positive feeling and to know that I can handle it when she starts her, her thing.
Right, and the reason for that is because you have a tenuous positive feeling at this point. You're engaging in some new belief systems. You go back and you hear talk about Paul, and he said, the newbies, we feed milk instead of meat. It's like you're new in holding to that condition of love in your mind. It's a relatively recent development in your life. And so in the face of hostility and fear, and, of course, your daughter's not the first one to rage at you, right? That's actually a conversation we haven't had, but I think I can pretty much assume this isn't the first person who's raged at you in your world and in your life. Is that accurate?
Well, in different forms, that's true, yes.
Okay. So then you're going into new territory. The old responses to the rage, you've been forgiving them. And, again, for those who are new to the conversation, new to the show, you don't forgive somebody else. You don't forgive yourself. You apply forgiveness to what's going on inside of you. So your daughter's going to, if you have any vestiges of hostility and fear around people who rage, your daughter's going to be successful at bringing that up for you. And there's your next piece of work. Once you are free from that internal response to hostility and fear, then you'll simply stand as a space of love and go, oh, dear, sweetheart, what's happening for you? You look like you're in a lot of pain. Can I support you? Rather than cringe, crunch down, and want to escape, because our escape is from what's going on inside of us. When we're fully connected to that awesome presence of love that we are, there's a space for anything that shows up. If we have no resonance with that, I use the example in the workshop of I take a middle C tuning fork and I hit it on a desk and I put it in front of a second middle C tuning fork. What happens to the second tuning fork? Well, it's attuned to the same atomic magnetic structure And so the two tuning forks interact, and the second tuning fork, without being touched, starts to vibrate. If I put the middle C tuning fork in front of a middle A tuning fork, however, what's going to happen to the middle A tuning fork? Absolutely nothing. And so as long as you have a tuning fork, which, and well, let me just take an offhanded guess here. Have you ever raged at anybody?
Of
or
course.
wanted to and didn't?
Of course.
Okay. So then Julie got a tuning fork for rage from Mom. Mom became power person, and maybe there's been a time or two where Mom's even raged at Julie, or raged while Julie was in the womb. And if so, then they're all frequencies that would be transferred to your daughter. So she's got the same tuning fork you have. Your job, should you choose to do it, is to remove that tuning fork from inside of you. So if she comes at you with rage, there's no tuning fork left. So in fact, she becomes your gift, because rage in tissue is something that destroys tissue. It kills us. And so at this point, she's your gift. She's going to show you every last vestige of pain, of trauma you have around rage. And as you forgive, you'll remove it, and you'll come out the other side with no tuning fork, no response to rage. And oftentimes what we've seen happen over the years is once somebody does that, all of a sudden the rager just stops raging or goes away. It just, the whole dynamic changes. So it's a pretty amazing process to watch.
Well, I like what you just said, about the tuning forks. And I also appreciate your suggestion, which is to say you look like you're in a lot of pain. How can I support you?
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. And be aware that they may not be soothing words to her. That may just take her rage to the next level, too. So, because you recognize that and hold that space, some people will take that as an insult. So just be aware of that and just keep doing your work. And as you keep doing your work, you'll come out the other side free of that. And then what happens is this magical thing occurs. You become a fit space to support her, shifting her rage. Because now instead of oscillating, literally on a physics level, oscillating back and forth with each other and increasing that exponentially in each other, you'll be the space that will be able to bring love present to that rage. And what tends to happen is whatever peaks itself up in the presence of active love that isn't like our true natures, it begins to dissolve. So you'll become the dissolver of her rage, and you'll become one of the holy ones on planet Earth who is able to absorb and transmute rage from planet Earth. We need people such as those. We need them desperately. So thank you for being willing to do your work.
Well, thank you for your wonderful support, Michael. I deeply appreciate your help.
Well, we deeply appreciate the opportunity to help. That's what we're here for. I can remember when my son was born, he's now 32. I was doing this work. I'd actually done this work for about 6 years part-time, and then I was doing it a couple of years before he was born, full-time. And I looked around when I found out that I was going to have a child, and I went, this world is insane. Somebody's got to do something. And I was the only one standing there, so I said, okay, I'm going to do something. That was 33 years ago, and this is what I decided to do, what I chose to do, to change the dynamic on the planet. So now our book is in German, Spanish, Swedish, Farsi, which is in the Middle East, in Iran, Tehran. It's in Russian. It's being translated into Thai, Brazilian, Portuguese, French. So it's moving around the planet. I was just a little guy in Atlanta, Georgia, that just said, I'm going to do something. I'm from a working class family, so there was no money to do anything with. It's just been put one foot in front of the other, one foot in front of the other, and deliver the tools. about, let's see, that was 33, so about 6 or 7 years after that, I was guided to, I said, I'm going to make the forgiveness process available to every mind on the planet. And at that point, I charged a fee for all the workshops that I did. And at that point, the guidance came to drop the fees. And so for the last approximately 25 years or so, all of our travel work, except for one workshop that we do occasionally called MindShifters to Still Point Breathing, which is an all-day process-oriented workshop, except for that, all of our travel workshops are done free. Mm-hmm. And it's just picked up, and it's moving around the planet, and now we have a global radio show where anybody on the earth can listen that's got access to the Internet, and we're here to support and grow the idea of forgiveness until we hit critical mass and every mind, heart, and being on the planet is touched by it. So that's what we're here for. That's our job in the world, and we love it, and we enjoy it, and we're delighted that you're participating. And, we invite everybody who benefits from the work to support us in some way, to taking it farther and farther afield. Everything beyond a relatively modest lifestyle. For instance, the van we travel around the country in has about 360,000 miles on it, and it's 9 years old. So there's nothing lavish about our lifestyle. But beyond that, every penny that we have goes to how do we do the next project to expand the work. We're actually looking right now at whether we can get involved in and can afford to turn this into a television show. We're looking at technology that would, at the same time as we're doing the radio show, would allow us to do video conferencing so that people around the world, because I do a lot of work on a chalkboard or a whiteboard, people around the world will be able to tap in if we put this together, and that's just something we're working on. The learning curve is pretty steep. That's something we could use help with is the technology. Somebody who would really like to dedicate themselves to taking this work around the planet that has a technology background would be really helpful, because along with developing the work, delivering the work, doing the publicity, doing the radio show, and traveling 6 to 10 months a year, I'm also working on, well, actually both of us, Jeanie, had never touched a website until she met me and we got married, and she said, I'll take over the website. And if you look at it, it's awesome. And she's just jumped in and learned it. So along with all the rest, that's what we do, is we're learning how to take this farther and farther afield, and until we get to critical mass, and then bang, it's just going to happen. So that's what we're here for.
Thank you, Michael. That's awesome.
So
what an awesome goal. Yes.
Well, we invite you to join us energetically in it, and of course, I will get some worksheets done. I haven't actually put the pen to the paper on the worksheets around my envy about you getting to go and play in Palm Springs, but I will.
Okay. Thank you, Michael. All
right. We hold the space. And, when you get out there, make sure you let us know when you're going, and we will hold a visualization that this opens and creates healing throughout the whole family system. That's where we're headed.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
All right, blessings. Thanks for the call.
Thank you, Michael. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Jeanie, any other callers? Anything in the chat room to chat about? Has Dr. Tim arrived yet?
Tim is not on. And hold on, I'm trying to read at the same time. I'm trying to talk to you. We did have a caller from area code 410 they hung up. So if you would call back, that would be awesome. And got somebody in the chat room who's saying yes, that they're a techie and that they're impressed with the website. They're saying Ustream is the way to go, and let's talk. So I'm going to send them my email information.
Oh, awesome. Fabulous. That would be of so much help. We're looking at so many things and turning our book into an e-book and just moving things to the next level. And, of course, being on the road, the idea of doing the video conferencing process is a bit of a challenge. I get to do the radio show from all sorts of places and postures, so some of them I wouldn't want to be on video, so we'll have to change the dynamics of of how we do that if we get things set up to do video. And so that'd be awesome to have some input in that regard. So, David, what exciting process is happening at Heartland today?
Exciting. Well, Chuck and Magda are moving into their new space. He's pretty excited and eager for that to go on.
That's fabulous. She was coming a little later in the month.
Well, it's next week that she'll be here, and so Chuck is here. Just a beautiful day here. Just getting some things handled around here. So I wonder if there's anyone that's in the chat room or on the phones that have been doing their 5 worksheets a day for the 40 days that they may want to talk about what's going on for them. As I said, it's the 18th day, and what they can expect with the level of work and commitment is that there are things that are going to be surfacing, and they may surface rather unexpectedly. And so it's a good idea to connect in with folks. I know if Dave is on there, he's been getting some fine results from playing the games. Nice to hear from him, and he's doing them early in the morning, which is what I think is a wise thing to do, to have it handled. He emailed me this morning, or texted me this morning, that it's a great way to start just to begin the day, to get into the day. So
Dave
that's from Chicago.
Dave Womack. Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Dave, delighted. That's fabulous.
Yeah. So it's nice, and Nene is doing fabulously with it. Bill is doing well. Chuck is. There are lots of people, and one of the things about doing this is that to have the support of other people and know that they're noticing all different conversations that are coming up in their head. That's who was talking with and said, what do you mean? Other people talk to themselves as well? I'm not the only one? Yeah, there's a voice that's going on all the time with it. So that's what's going on here.
Cool. And, one of the things that we'll just put it out, too, that if anybody is handy with their hands and tools, we can always use some help at Heartland. One of the projects that's going on is we've added a new external addition to the Heart Center, and we've got some walls and roofing that need to be sealed in, and we're hoping to get a greenhouse put up. I don't know whether anything's going to move on that or not this year, but a couple of years ago we had it set up that we had a greenhouse, and all the way through the year could go out in the back and pick fresh greens in order to keep the nutrition level up. And so that in some heavy snows 2 years ago collapsed, and so we're working toward, we just bought another greenhouse and working toward getting that installed. So if anybody's got a few days, they'd like to make a little journey to Heartland, get a little support, maybe do a little breath work, and put the hammer to the nail, that would be helpful too. Lots of things occurring.
Yeah, I mean, I remember a couple of weeks ago there was a lady that was on there that was talking about that she was in a position where she was looking for a place in order to maybe do some of her healing work. And, I came here 5 years ago to do a year's sabbatical, what I call, to do the work support program here, and dedicate a year to doing that. And so I know that there are lots of people out there that have considered and talked about doing something along that line. So if you're interested in and you'd like some information about it, you can go to the website and check it out, and or you can email me or call me in reference to what the support group would look like.
Yeah, we actually do up to a 2-year program where people can come and gather support for the use of the tools and really learn the work, learn to teach the work, learn to pass it on. So, and also there's community developing at Heartland where there's some land available and people who want to build, we can facilitate that process as well. So there's lots happening at Heartland, lots happening with the work, and lots happening all around the globe. We don't talk about that stuff very often, but it's a good thing to bring forward. And we do have one more workshop here tonight in Pompano Beach. We're doing a lesson from the Course in Miracles titled "What is the World?" Or no, it's not "What is the World?" It's "The Name of God is My Inheritance" from the Course in Miracles tonight. In Pompano tomorrow, we're doing MindShifters and Still Point Breathing. It's actually going to be a pretty small, intense, personal group that we'll be working with, and then we'll be heading off to St. Augustine to do some writing and some study, and then to St. Louis for 3 weeks to be with my daughter, who is getting ready, or at least scheduled, on January 21st to deliver Adeline Nora into the world. So that's pretty exciting stuff. And we'll be back in Fort Lauderdale the next week. First week in December, I think we start on the 7th or the 8th, whatever the Sunday is. We'll be starting at CSL in Fort Lauderdale, doing a full week of workshops. And then over to the other coast, we'll be up in Tampa. Over to, in February, we'll be in Boca. And Jeanie tells me that we have a caller on the line, so let's talk to our caller.
We actually have 2 callers. The first one is area code 607. You're on the air.
Hey, Michael. It's Richard. How you doing?
Hey, Richard. Good to hear your voice, sir. I am blessed and highly favored. How about you?
Hanging in there. Say,
awesome.
I was listening to your first caller, and you were talking about the newbie. Of course, and I'm calling because I've been doing the 5 worksheets a day, and certainly I got to a new level, and stuff came up for me this past couple of days in a week, and you were talking about the newbie level, the feeding the baby with milk and all that stuff, and the woman was talking about her anger issues, and this sort of what has come up for me, this person has triggered some hostility and anger and fear in me, and I've been reaching a level where my breathing was quite different last night. I woke up and it was quite different than I had experienced in a long time. And this morning I found myself in that fearful space, and that the breathing had changed, and I found myself thinking a lot of fearful thoughts and stuff like that. So I was just wanting to talk about that a little bit, of holding the space, like the woman talked about, of holding that space of peace rather than hanging on to those, and how to deal that with the breath.
Well, first thought, Richard, would be, and it's quite a different response than most of the world has, and that is, awesome, that's fabulous, this is what you've been working for. Because most people live in a world where they eat in such a way that they keep things suppressed. They drug themselves with sugar, with caffeine, with nicotine, with junk food, with rage, with fear, and keep those things hidden from themselves, when in this work what we're looking to do, because if we keep things hidden from ourselves, we're in a state called dissociation, and our behavior and our lives then are defined by our dissociated states. And so you're working to take things out of that dissociated state, and it sounds like you've hit a new level of vitality, because that's what you have to do in order to get things to come out of that dissociated mind. And so I'm delighted that it's up, that it's in your face, that you're on the phone asking for support, because most people turn tail and run the other way. Let me go just drug myself. So it's awesome that you're there, and if that's a new way of thinking for folks that are listening on the show, that's the kind of thinking that you're going to hear here. Because if you come from a bloodline of ragers, of people who live in fear and terror, that use all kinds of words based in hostility and fear, then you have a load that you're carrying around inside of you that is in the process of destroying you. And what we're looking to do is to support each person in getting that load to come forward and to forgive it. It is the load that needs forgiveness, not the people in our lives, not ourselves. So that's awesome. And, the next worksheet I would suggest probably would be a good worksheet to do would be on that fear that's coming up. And what are the fear thoughts? So you might use yourself as the object of attention, put your own name in number 1A. And here I am in fear thoughts. What's my feeling about my fear? And that might be, it's hopeless. I can't overcome it. There it is. And then the thought might be, I'm stuck in it. And when you get down to the goal, it might look like, what's my goal? Well, I want to live in confidence and positive thinking. And then when I decide to cancel that goal, I collapse everything that's going on in my mind, and all of a sudden I've got direct access to my dissociated state. And when I have direct access to my associated state, and I've brought forward the active presence of my human life love, that's when I can dissolve the dissociated state. So fabulous, awesome, cool. Glad you're doing it, Richard. That's a major contribution to the planet.
Thank you.
There's a line in the Course in Miracles that says, millions yet unborn will benefit from the work you do. And, Carolyn, that called the first caller in the show, she's right on track. She's doing the same thing. She's looking inside herself instead of looking out to her daughter as, the cause of her pain, looking inside of herself, handling her pain, working through her pain, and changing the whole dynamic of her life, which is nothing short of miraculous. It's called, in the ancient teachings, it was called moving mountains. So is there anything else we can do to support you? Is there anything specific we can do to support you, Richard? Aside from ending well.
I just wanted to hear more about, you were talking about how I consider myself in that newborn babe state, I'm experienced a new level of my breathing and realizing how this other stuff is coming up and disturbing the breath, and so I just I'm basically I'm the newborn. I'm trying to get through that, so I'm trying to work through and let those other feelings dissipate and disappear, and let them go.
Well, awesome.
Richard,
we're here absolutely to support you. You're right on track.
Richard?
Yes.
Yeah, this is David. I had a couple of thoughts, and one is a comment on the clarity that I'm hearing from you and your level of calmness and assuredness of where it is that you're at with the work. And I'm thinking that 18 days ago, when you and I had a conversation about did you want to play this game of doing 5 a day versus doing the 1 a day that you've been doing for a couple of months now, and you willingly called and said, I will do this. Is there anything that you're noticing about yourself and how the process is going for you from raising it from 1 a day to 5 a day, and in your consciousness of completing them, contacting, and so forth? Have you noticed anything, or you have some input that you might be able to give the audience?
Well, I think the more I do, there seems to be more pinpointed, more concise. It doesn't seem to be so scattered. I seem to be able to pinpoint things a lot quicker. And the other thing is, yesterday I do a senior somatics class, and as my Christmas present to the people that showed up is I walk them through a worksheet. I've been passing them out and getting people to do them for a while. So yesterday, as my Christmas gift, I sat down and said, well, the first half hour today, we're going to all sit down and do a worksheet together. And they all thanked me. Of course, I used the one I haven't used the new one yet, transitioned yet, because I'm used to using an older version of the worksheet, which I find very, pinpointed for me in my situation. So, I've got used to using it, but after I did it, everybody said, "Oh, it makes a lot more sense now," and a lot of people had a lot of good feedback, and I posted a number of worksheets out on outside my space, and basically my Christmas gift to the world this year is giving out free worksheets.
Oh, how sweet. That's very sweet. Very thoughtful. Well,
Yeah.
thank you very much for that. And there certainly is, for me, I hear it in your voice, a new level of that evolving with it for so much different than when you first heard about it and the resistance that was there, and you worked through that resistance. And I would like for you to know that as it gets closer to the 40 days, there will be the tendency, and there will be more things that are going to be surfacing. And, you can call me at any time and spell 2 for support.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So, Michael, any comments?
Well, one of my thoughts is, and I'm walking outside, just maybe you're going to be a little bit of wind noise till I get out of the wind, but one of my thoughts is that I just really appreciate the community that's developing around this radio show of support, of the awesome people who are out there holding this space. And if you aren't familiar with the idea of holding the space, and you think, oh, that's ridiculous, that person's 1,000 miles away, what could I do to support them? Well, there's an interesting video. Jeanie's got a link on the website, on the YGN website, of a pretty interesting video. And the video is I think it's entitled Christian the Lion. And that was the name of a lion that 2 young Englishmen adopted when it was a cub. It lived in their apartment until it got too big for them to handle, and they flew it back to Africa and let it go in a preserve in Africa. And a year later, they go back to visit this lion to see if they can find it in the preserve. So they go out. There's one of the preserve employees who's there with a high-powered rifle, and they go out and they start calling to this lion. And they look up the hill, and all of a sudden you see this huge male lion come bounding down the hill at them. And I can remember the first time I saw the video, it's like, I hope this is the right lion. And this lion reaches them and jumps up on them and paws them and hugs, literally hugs them, licks on them, kisses on them. It's awesome to watch. But what's really most awesome about it, what's most incredible about it, is that, and I'm sure that this lion did not have a conversation with its mate to say, these are my friends, we don't eat them or attack them. However, what happens is a wild female, who, of course, the female is the huntress, right? A wild female who is mated with their friend, Christian, comes with them.
Michael, you just disappeared.
I did, yes. So this wild female comes down the hill with him, and they are able to pet her. The female, this video shows this female coming up, rubbing against them, and petting her. Now, did this lion have a conversation with its mate? I don't think so. It held an energy. It held an energy space. And obviously the energy space, I think we can conclude, was one of friendship and love. This is their friend. And the mate responds in kind. If we walk into a space in hatred and rage and fear, the people around us tend to respond in kind unless they're very conscious, and vice versa. So by holding that space, we can bring a transformation that is absolutely awesome and amazing when we wake up to who we are. And so I really appreciate this community that's developing of support. And each one of you who brings forward an issue, know that there are many people around the globe who are holding the space for you, wherever they are, wherever you are. So that's my highest thought.
Thank you.
Okay, Richard, anything else we can do to support you?
No, I think I'm fine today. I just wanted to comment, though. I mean, basically, the reason I called in was just when you talked to that woman earlier about being at space, that transition space where you're a baby. I'm sort of in that space right now where I'm trying to hold the space of peace and let the disturbing feelings pass and release and let them go. And like I said, last night I was in this space of when I woke up before I went to work. I woke up about 15 minutes before, and I just laid there breathing this. It was a calm breath. It wasn't, it was just easygoing. It wasn't. It was just different than I'd experienced in a while, and I was just able to sit there and just count my breath. And then my alarm went off, and then this morning, after being at work, something brought up some fear in me or whatever, and I had to sit down and do a number of worksheets around that, and I could tell that I had a lot of stuff to let go, and I'm sure part of all this has to do with having been traumatized once when I was real young, and I still haven't let go of that trauma, and that part of that trauma is still playing out for me. So I can be, something can trigger that, and I'm just trying to let go of those feelings, So I'm sure that's part of it, that I struggle with it because I've had a lot of trauma in my past, and but I'm getting the sense that I'm transitioning into that space, and that's what I feel like the newborn is what I'm trying to say. I'm transitioning to that newborn space, and I was basically asking for advice how to hold that space or to increase the time that I'm in that space versus the other space.
Well, just allow yourself to be aware that it is a process. It takes time, it takes patience, and it takes the active work of forgiveness to do that. So we're glad you're on it and doing it, and we're glad to be here to support you. Thanks for your call.
Thank you.
Okay, blessings. Lots of love. We'll look forward to seeing you in teachers training next July, or I guess it's late July, early August.
I'm looking forward to it myself.
Awesome. All right. Jeanie,
bye-bye.
Any calls?
Area code 517. You're on the air.
Good afternoon. It's Rex. How's everybody doing?
Welcome, Rex. How are you, sir? You've got a workshop tomorrow. We've got a workshop tomorrow. We'll certainly join you in mind in opening an awesome space for the folks that are going to be participating in both events.
Well, I love that, and that's part of why I called, not because I'm doing a workshop, but to acknowledge the linking up that I've been experiencing with myself and, a group of people that I work with and, the workshops that I'm doing, but on a bigger level with the work that you're doing in the different areas that you're drawing people into. And just, I heard you acknowledging that. I just wanted to, give a yahoo to that because it's definitely very evident, and I feel an acceleration and a change happening in me, but I also believe it's happening in all of us. And of like mind creates that energy, just like what you were talking about, the great story about the lioness, and the lion, the female lion. So I wanted to acknowledge that and, appreciation. And also, the conversation we were having about the 5 worksheets a day, I've done this before, but like you, Michael, you had shared that it's really different this time for you, and you're glad you're doing it. And I have to also, I choose to, reiterate that because I'm noticing just different levels of awareness of the process. As I'm going through each step, it's like, oh, and honestly seeing words, and I'm using an older version that I like, the 7-step. It's been a while since you used that version, but I think it was your original 7-step sheet quite a while ago, and I used that. And I've explored the new one, and I'm going to look into it more, but I just didn't. I had enough on my plate getting ready for this workship, so I didn't want to add another piece right now. So I will after that. But I noticed that I started seeing words, and that had been there all along. I never really got the impact of them. And then another piece with that was, in listening to your talks and preparing for this workshop, I started hearing things. I said, God, I know I've listened to this before from Michael. I don't remember him talking about that. and it goes back to building brain cells or neurons firing more material being available in my own awareness that allows me to see more and experience more that's always there. And I find it fascinating, so I wanted to acknowledge that as well for all of us that are working with all the different levels. It really doesn't matter how long we've been doing this work, staying open and being receptive to change and healing creates a new vision every moment. And the vision is from inside, and it allows me to see what's happening outside more clearly. And I know I'm singing to the choir, but this is just something that I'm finding with doing the 5 sheets a day as well.
Sometimes Rex, the choir needs to hear it again too, so that's cool.
Well, and I appreciate that, because that's one of the reasons I listen in, because I love hearing the stories. I love hearing the people, and like many of us, we enjoy hearing your voice, Michael. And it's a pleasure, and it's nice to be able to connect with you every day. And, I acknowledge that and I appreciate that. So I wanted to, verbalize that. One other piece that I have been working with in my sheets and in my life, as you know, in my history, I also was raised with a very angry father that was incredibly insecure and had a lot of issues around, expressing emotions. And his way of expressing it, as many of us on the call, the conversations we've had here, are about difficulty expressing, the hostility in a way that's healing. And there is no real healing way of expressing hostility other than just allowing us to experience it without projecting it on others. I think that would probably be a healing way. What I've observed is I've had some challenges in my family, as you're aware of. And that's kind of been escalating around the Christmas season. And the verbiage and the hateful rage that's been coming out. I was sitting in it yesterday and having a conversation with that yesterday and realized, wow, I'm not feeling the tendency to defend myself.
The fruit of forgiveness. Awesome.
So I went, oh, wow, this feels pretty good. And I can just look at, and now it did, after a while of I hate you and I wish you'd die and, you'd get sick and die, and some of the stuff that was coming out, it's like, okay, I can listen to that and breathe and just be with it. And I just noticed and I acknowledged in myself that, very good. That means I'm getting closer to reconciling my own hostility. And I just thought that might be good for other people to hear as well, because, I've been working on it for about 57 years. So it does come to a place where I think we get some results. So those are the things I wanted to share, Michael.
Yeah, and one of the things you bring up, Rex, and some people would say, well, geez, you've been working on that for 15 years. Obviously, this doesn't work. Well, if you take and look at, honestly, the eternity that it's taken for us to get where we are. When you look at, what mom and dad engaged in and what their parents and their parents and their parents. In the ancient physics language, Aramaic, they spoke the words, the sins of the father will be passed, yea, unto 3 and 4 generations. What that means is, and that isn't some kind of threat, they're just telling you how physiology works, that literally every energy you engage in is stored holographically in every cell. So if you come from a family system of rageaholics, and rage is nothing but a drug, underneath that rage is pain, then you became the inheritor of that kind of rage and that kind of pain. That's just the way it is. And, of course, when you look at that word sin, it's an archery term. It's got nothing to do with some terrible thing you've done. It's simply an energy that doesn't belong in your human system. That's sin. So when they say the sins of the father, every thought, every feeling, every reality is stored holographically in every cell, including the sperm and the egg. And so when you conceive a child, that child has it and will tend to feed it back to you in spades. And so very much with the conversation we started out with Carolyn, she's doing her work around it and more able to just be in that space and hold it. And Rex, that's awesome. And, she's been working on it for about 3 weeks and moving to the space. So you were one of the people who helped to open the energetic window for that to be possible, and there's an acceleration happening for sure. And so when you recognize that the 4th generation back, of course, got their dynamics from the previous 4, who got them from the previous 4, who got them from, who got them from, who got them from. What we're really talking about is cleaning up your whole bloodline. Well, you look at 1,000 generations. Jeanie actually did some calculations at Heartland a couple of years ago, and I don't remember exactly the number, but she looked back 100 generations. Wow. And this may not be accurate, but the number of people in your bloodline in 100 generations is something like 2,945 to the 90th power, 90 zeros in 100 generations. So when you say, it's taken me 15 years, that's what you're cleaning up. When they first started doing genetic research, they were talking about how 95% of our DNA was junk. Well, they're revising that thinking now. It's not junk at all. It's your whole family history. It's your whole bloodline. And if something happened to great, 20 generations back grandpa, an event happened, genes can't turn themselves off. Genes can't turn themselves on. But if something happened to you today that matched what happened 10 generations ago to grandpa, and he went into rage and pain and trauma, that rage and pain and trauma and the memory of that event are in your genetics. And because we live in a resonance universe, all of a sudden you'd be facing everything that grandpa faced. I can remember one of the places where I learned that. I've always had pretty good control of my temper, except in one circumstance, and that was behind the wheel of a car. I could be in a shaking rage in 3/4 of a second flat. And that was an issue that I worked on very consciously, very purposely for probably 5 years, and would think, I've got that one handled, I've forgiven that one, and bang, I'd be right there again. And it was when Michael J., when I did this process, was on my hip. I was carrying him. So he was maybe 2 or 3. And I had this come up again, and I asked to be shown. And what I was shown was, and this has got to do with developing the skill of decoding our own unconscious dynamics, our own genetics. What I got was that this was an inherited anger from my great-great-grandfather. Well, I didn't know my grandfather. I certainly didn't know my great, and I certainly didn't know my great-great-grandfather. And what I did was I did a forgiveness process around that, and I talked to my great-great-grandfather. Now, is this absolutely true? Is that what happened, or is that what was really going on? I don't know. There are other explanations. It might just be my creative mind's way of giving me a way to deal with it. But here's what I do know. When I had the conversation with him and I said, Grandpa, I get that this is yours, and if you want to keep it, I'm giving it back to you, but I'm finished with it. I'm letting it go. Now, my son is now 32, and he was on my hip. So that was 28, 29 years ago. I have not had a fist-shaking incident behind the wheel of a car since. Somebody does something stupid, I can bless them and say, hey, hope you get home safe, rather than raging at them. So the skill that needs to be developed in order for us to heal our generations. You go back to that story about the Jews wandering in the desert. What had to happen to get out of the desert? And it was a 40-year journey for them. The old generation had to die off. That didn't mean everybody in old physical bodies had to physically die. The root of the word generation is genari. It means cause. All of the old causes, hell in the mind, had to go. So for me, in that situation where I dealt with great-great-grandpa's rage, or at least how my mind presented it was that, and got finished with it, that was healing my generations. That's what's really called praying for the dearly departed. It isn't about sitting around going, oh, let my father out of hell, let my brother, or whatever. It's doing your work. And as you do that, you free them and yourself on an energetic level, and your future generations as well. So, Rex, I'm just awesomely impressed and delighted that you're on the team and that you're doing it. And, we've been hanging out a long time now.
Yes, we have, and it's great.
Our kids were pretty small, so that's, just about 30 years ago.
Yep, it has been approximately that, and I think I'm finally starting to get it.
Well,
now,
Rex, the last 2 years I've been saying, I think I'm finally starting to understand forgiveness and how to teach it, so I know what you mean.
Well, it's exciting because there's lots of things, not to take up any more time, but it's exciting because I'm actually seeing it inside now. And for so long, even though I knew it intellectually, I didn't know it emotionally and all the other levels deep down inside of me. I only knew it intellectually, and I had to remember that newborn experience, and it's starting to come back up again and coming into my experience, but as an adult, and I think that's an appropriate evolution. And I think as I'm listening to people talk in the program and being exposed to people in the world, we are in an accelerated state. And the more of us that are doing it daily and coming back to the 5 a day, I've had numerous clients that are engaged in, they're doing 1, 2, 3 a day, and one of them is doing 5 a day. And I see dramatic change. But I also hear him say, gosh, when the 40's over, I can't imagine not doing worksheets every day. And I think that's the key, establishing a new habit. And then as that establishing a habit that we know is a habit, but is moving us in a direction of consciousness and accepting our pure love, that's just exciting. So I'm excited, and I'm excited for everyone making the changes. And life is challenging, and it's there to help us grow. So thank you, Michael. Thank you, Jeanie. Thank you, everybody.
You're most welcome. We're delighted to have you on the team, Rex, and good luck with your workshop tomorrow.
And as well, I'll be thinking of you.
Rex is going to be doing, say again?
I'll be thinking of you as well. And healing through relationships. Yes.
Healing through relationships. You can jump on our website and pick up a copy of it, or Rex's website, which is Still Point Breath of Life. Blessings.
God bless you.
Jeanie, anything else happening in the chat room? Any callers? 1 minute, 90. Hey, we're down to about 45 seconds, so I guess it's just time to kind of start the outro and say thank you for being with us. It is a privilege and an honor to be of support and to be learning with you how to remove those things that never belonged in our humanness. All the hostility, all the fear, all the grief, all the rage, all the pain. And, again, tonight we're in Pompano Beach. First week in January, we're in Fort Lauderdale. We're going to be over in Ocala. We're going to be in Tampa. We'll be in Boca in February. So we got lots of things scheduled in Florida. Have the most awesome year yet of your eternal life. Get ready for the holy days by forgiving, cleaning out the store. The family time will be awesomely better. Blessings. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to MindShifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife Jeanie, who present the internal Aramaic process of forgiveness. Michael and Jeanie are here every Monday through Friday on Earth Angels Radio. For more on Michael and Jeanie, please visit www.whyagain.com. That's www.whyagain.com.